What's up, y'all, and welcome back to Committing to Growth. It's been a minute, but your girl is back. And so today I wanted to talk about forgiveness when it comes to us forgiving ourselves. And this is a really heavy topic for me, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm gonna try to, allow myself to be as raw as possible. And so y'all just bear with me. So there's been, some things that I've been going through behind the scenes, and, it's kind of contributed to why I haven't been posting as many videos, because I've just been in this funk, and I've just been like, I don't want to talk about nothing that pertains to nothing really right now. And so, I've just kind of been to myself and my own thoughts, just trying to pull myself out of this funk. So this video is my way of pulling myself out of this funk. And so one of the most recent revelations that I've gotten is that I have worked on forgiving everybody else who's either hurt me in my past or present. And I never included myself in that equation of being somebody that I needed to forgive. And so I've just been in this place where I've been unpacking what that looks like to forgive myself, you know what I'm saying? And so what I'm learning from my own personal experience and, different people that I've talked to is that, there seems to be two type of people that struggle with forgiving themselves. And so, there's the people that, have made mistakes and have had to suffer consequences for those mistakes. And so when those consequences, affect your present life in any type of way or affect your life dramatically, sometimes we struggle to forgive ourselves because we feel like I put myself in this situation. And then there's other people who struggle to forgive themselves for somebody else's actions. You put yourself, somebody else did something to you, and, somehow you blame yourself or they blame you, and then you struggle to forgive yourself because they did something to you and you feel like you caused it or you brought it on yourself. And so I just so happen to be both of those people right now. Okay. And so I've been really, just taking it piece by piece, just trying to figure out, okay, why do you struggle with this? And why is it so hard for you to, for your head to match your heart when it comes to the knowledge and the understanding that you have about this? And so, very few people know that I was raped by my cousin when I was 14. And I'm 35 now, and I've only been dealing with it and unpacking it for the last 4 years. And so one of the reasons why I took so long to come out to my family about it was because I feared that they wouldn't believe me, that I would be, criticized or accused of wanting it. Most of the time when you hear about like people being molested or raped, people typically have more compassion when it's somebody that's younger. But when they're a teenager, it's like, oh, she was fast, she wanted it, she knew what was going on, whatever. And so, really unpacking the thoughts, the memories, the emotions tied to it, I was like, I cannot take anybody saying anything crazy. Like the situation was already traumatizing in itself. And so to have to then deal with people criticizing me, like, I'm good. And so I realized that a lot of the fears that I had that was tied to me bringing it up and talking about it to my family was that as many times as I thought about it, there were so many different things that I disagreed with. There were so many things that frustrate me. There were so many things that I was disappointed in myself about, that I realized that I had a lot of unforgiveness with me because so now, granted, I'm unpacking this as 35-year-old Ashley, okay? And it's been really hard for me to identify with that 14-year-old Ashley because, over the years, I've learned so much. I've done research. I've, unpacked a whole lot of stuff to understand myself. I have so much more awareness now. So I'm processing this situation from, the 35-year-old Ashley. And I feel like, there's so much stuff that I know now. It's like, how could you not know that? You know what I'm saying? And so when I think about, when he started making advances at me, and I'm like, okay, if you would have said this, you probably would have discouraged him from doing it, or you could have did this, or you could have called him out, or you could have asked the question, or you could have did, and so I can think about all the things that I could have done to probably prevent him from being as comfortable with pursuing me the way that he did. And so for me it was like, okay, well, why didn't you say that? Because I tell y'all I'm a why person. Well, why didn't you say this? Or why didn't you push him away? Or why didn't you say no? And society tells us that, well, if you didn't say no, then obviously you wanted it. And so it wasn't until I was an adult that I learned that even if I don't say no, if I'm underage, it's still considered statutory rape. And so I thought it wasn't rape until I say, no, I don't want this no more. I don't want to do this. You know what I'm saying? And so, I could not make sense of, why didn't you push him away? Or, why didn't you show some type of discomfort? And so I really had to go back to that 14-year-old girl and to understand like where her mindset was, and take everything into consideration. Growing up with both of my parents on drugs, being in an environment where communication was not a thing, body awareness, sex awareness, boundaries, those things were not discussed. It was just, don't do this, don't do this. But they didn't tell me, okay, what to do when this stuff happens. And so, I had to take all those things into consideration to be like, actually, she didn't know. She was fearful. She was confused. And what's crazy about it is that with all the research that I've done, and all the articles that I've read to just try to understand the mind of a child and how this stuff works and how predators groom you and the tactics that they use and, all that stuff, even with all that knowledge, you know what I'm saying, I still can't make sense of why I didn't speak up. And so for the longest, I felt like, well, you put yourself in this situation because you didn't say anything. You allowed it to happen. And I was having a conversation with my mentor, and I was telling her that I was really struggling with allowing myself to be the victim, because a part of me, felt like, well, you don't get to complain about it because you should have did something about it in the beginning. Now, let me preference this by, anytime I've ever talked to another teenage girl that's experienced this is not my thought process. I immediately go into encouragement, giving her the facts, validating her, allowing her to talk through her emotions, helping her connect the dots of the red flags, and helping her understand, how predators think and how they groom you and all that stuff, so that she genuinely allows herself to be the victim, because that's what she is. And so I couldn't understand why, when it comes down to me, I can't give myself that same talk, specifically with this situation. Like any other thing, I could talk myself off the cliff. But when it came to this, I was really brutal with myself. You know what I'm saying? And I was brutal with the 14-year-old me. The 35-year-old me would let her have it, because I'm like, you knew that this was weird and you felt uncomfortable. Like, why didn't you say something? And so I was having, this conversation with my mentor, and she was asking me like different questions about why I was struggling with, accepting the fact that I'm the victim in this situation. And I was like, you know what? Because I feel like, so here's what it was. She asked me, what do you think about that 14-year-old girl? What's your opinion of her? And I was like, you know what? I don't trust her. I don't trust her because I feel like she put us in this situation. And I had never said that out loud, but just think about it for a second. Like, I'm talking about me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about some random. I'm talking about myself 21 years ago. And I'm like, I don't trust her, because I don't trust her judgment, because she put us in a situation that we're regretting for the rest of our life. You know what I'm saying? And the reality is that I do think that healing is progressive, and we will get to a point to where, this stuff won't sting as much as it does now. But it never goes away. You know what I'm saying? We go to counseling, we work through this stuff, we learn better ways to process our emotions. We get all the facts and, all the education that we need to understand how this stuff happens and how this stuff develops or whatever. But nothing erases the memory, you know what I'm saying, from my mind. There's nothing that's going to erase that. So we have to learn how to live with these memories in a healthy way as opposed to making them disappear. And so I realized that I am angry with the 14-year-old me because she didn't speak up. Now we have to live with the fact that we were a victim of rape. And that has completely transformed the way we view men, relationships, family, our children, like everything. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I really need to forgive her. I really need to give her a break. I really need to allow her, I need to embrace her the same way that I embrace other teenage girls when I talk to them. And so, I think it's a real place, for anybody who's dealt with any type of abuse, whether it's emotional, sexual, or, physical abuse, is that, forgive yourself for staying longer than what you felt like you should have. Forgive yourself for, putting up with it. Forgive yourself for allowing certain things to happen. Forgive yourself for the first time, they cursed you out and you didn't say anything, or you didn't set boundaries for them to know that this is not acceptable. Forgive yourself for allowing yourself to be manipulated, and disrespected. Forgive yourself for not saying no to that sexual act. Forgive yourself for what society makes us believe that, if you wear a certain thing, or if you act a certain way, or if you go to the wrong place, that, you brought it on yourself, so it's your fault. Forgive yourself for going to the party going to the party that you weren't supposed to go to. Forgive yourself for, lying about your age or talking to this person. Forgive yourself for those things and accept the fact that, this is not your issue or your unforgiveness to carry. And so what I've personally been working on is, when it comes to, my particular situation, is that, okay, it happened. Okay. You recognize that there were things that were inappropriate, that he was touching you, in an inappropriate way. You had a boyfriend before, so you had enough sense to understand how somebody interacts with you when they're attracted to you. So you knew something was weird, but you feared losing him. You feared offending him. Because here was my thought process. Was like, okay, so if I say something about him being inappropriate, what if I'm wrong? You know what I'm saying? Now I just accuse this man of being inappropriate with his minor cousin. And how do I come back from that? You know what I'm saying? And then what if I'm right? And so if I am right, and he does admit to, yeah, I like you, I'm trying to see what's up, then what? I have to deal with the reality that somebody that I looked at as a brother is being obviously inappropriate with me, and he's admitting to it. You know what I'm saying? And so where do I go from there? And so that's a real place. So forgive yourself, Ashley, for not knowing how to respond like a mature adult in a situation that was hella confusing. You know what I'm saying? And so I've really had to take it piece by piece. And okay, the first time they cursed you out, what made you overlook that? You know what I'm saying? What made you give them a pass on that? And then unpacking the experiences that you had tied to prior to that made you feel like, I have to accept this. What's caused you to lower your standards to feel like this is as good as it gets? And usually when we unpack it and get down to the root of it, which I'm all about getting down to the root of it, okay? And so getting to the root of it and not just judging the fruit. So the fruit is, I allow, this person to treat me like this, or I deal with these type of people, or I allow this type of behavior in my relationships. That's the fruit. But the root is, what is it that's causing you to feel like this is as good as it gets? What's affecting, or what's attacking your self-worth to make you feel like this is all I deserve? And I feel like once we deal with the root of it, the fruit will fix itself. You know what I'm saying? Because now once I understand, okay, this is what's contributing to that, now I can make better choices. Or I can give my 14-year-old self a break, because I realized, listen, you were in a situation where you did not understand what was happening. You didn't feel like you had an option. So you just went with it. And so, typically being in the type of environment that I was in, I didn't know what to do. I just went with the flow of it. You know what I'm saying? To avoid ruffling any feathers, to avoid making somebody upset, or to avoid, being wrong. You know what I'm saying? I just went along with it. And as a result, it put me in a situation to where I regret for the rest of my life, because it's affected every aspect of me.